Today, we are going to talk about the top industries that I think you should be buying a business in 2026, and also why I don't think industries really matter that much. Stick around.
Welcome to Business Buying for Financial Independence. I'm Tim Delaney, and I help young professionals buy small businesses so they can escape the 9-to-5 and take control of their time, income, and future. If that sounds like you, hit the subscribe button and let's get into it.
All right, so before we jump into the top industries that I think you should be looking at to buy a business in 2026, I just want to set some context to this. Don't go look at a list of the top types of businesses or the top industries to go buy a business or start a business and think that those are the only ones that you can do. Those are the only ones that are going to be successful. If you hate doing that type of business, it will not be successful. You don't have to absolutely love it. It doesn't have to be your life's passion, but you can't hate it. It can't be something that you dread doing every day or being involved with. If you are very anti-gun person, don't go out and buy an ammunition manufacturer. That's just not going to sit well with you, and it's not going to be well, even though that industry may or may not be taking off, and it might be the industry to buy in. I'm not saying it is. I don't know anything about it personally, but just using that as an extreme example of something that the industry doesn't make the business. The person makes the business, the cash flow makes the business, the structure makes the business. So don't think that you have to focus on a particular type of industry to be successful. That said, I know people always ask me, what types of industries are you looking at? What types of industries should I be looking at? What types of businesses should I be looking at? So I figured I would run through a couple of the industries that I would be looking at if I didn't care anything else about the business, but was just looking at the industry. Some people might disagree with me on some of these, but these are just some of my thoughts on what I see going on in the world today, particularly in the US, which is where I'm focused, but applies to a lot of other places as well. So first up, in one of the top industries that I think will be doing well for decades to come, that you should be targeting for an acquisition right now, is something in the healthcare adjacent field. I don't necessarily mean primary care or medical care, although those might be good as well. I mean things that are adjacent to healthcare. In the United States, our population is aging. People are spending more and more money on healthcare every year and healthcare-related services. This could be things from relating to housing, elderly people, elderly activities, non-emergency transport, all types of services related to healthcare and around healthcare. Could be even cleaning doctors' offices or providing medical equipment or servicing medical equipment. All these types of healthcare adjacent businesses can, from my opinion, can only continue to grow as more and more people need healthcare as they age. Some of the other related types of businesses like healthcare billing agencies, Medicaid, insurance just becomes more and more complicated. Less doctors' offices can handle it themselves. They outsource that stuff. Wellness and longevity focused businesses, health, nutrition type stuff. Even, as I mentioned, our population is aging, which is why that more healthcare is needed. But on the younger scale of our age demographics in the US, people are much more interested in longevity, much more interested in being healthier younger, and they will pay for those services and those things around healthcare at a younger age than they ever used to. DEXA scans and in-body scans, those types of services. People want to know where they stand. They want to get baseline metrics on how they're doing. So look at that industry as a whole, all that kind of healthcare adjacent type services. Another category I see a lot of opportunity in is service-based businesses, particularly ones that require human beings in person to take care of something. Not something that can just be a service that can be outsourced to anybody in the world, but a service that has to be done by a human at a certain location. These can be cleaning companies, commercial cleaning, residential cleaning, cooking, personal chef type things, landscaping, gardening, all those types of things that people will pay for, are willing to pay for, that they need a human being to do at a particular location. Also falling into this category are the HVAC, electrical, plumbing type companies, roofing companies. Those are very buzzworthy right now in the business buying space. I hear a lot of people talking about those. And yes, they can be great businesses. However, from my perspective, you do need to have some practical skill in those fields if you want to buy one of those businesses. Do people buy them without having that practical skill? Yes. Are they successful? Sometimes. Should you buy them without having that skill? Personally, I don't think so. Those are very specialized trades that oftentimes require licensing in the area that you're doing the thing in. And if you don't have the skill, you can't get the license yourself. You become reliant on others to get the licensing for you. It's kind of a risky business unless you're buying at such a large scale where those systems and processes and the redundancy of staff are already in place that you're good to go for the long term. But those types of businesses do fall in this industry of service-based in-person companies. But I do think there's plenty of other options out there that don't require that specialized skill, as I mentioned. These are great because they require that in-person thing. They are, for the most part, AI resistant. They can't be outsourced to somebody in India or Philippines. They have to be done by a person locally, which can also be the downside is because you do have staffing issues. Finding the right people to staff them can be a challenge. But overall, that's an industry that I would be looking at right now. Another industry that I think is only going to continue to climb are experience-based businesses. So kind of similar to that in-person thing, these are businesses that are physical, that give human beings a actual experience, not just a product or a service that they use once and be done with. So think of boutique fitness places, escape rooms, kids' activity centers, indoor and outdoor sports facilities like pickleball has been climbing like crazy. I know indoor tennis facility near me just recently expanded and made dozens of pickleball courts to expand their user base. Event-driven things that bring real experiences to people. Especially in the US, people are buying experiences. They're willing to spend more money for experiences than they are for goods and services lately. They want things that will create memories, not just something that they use and throw out. So anything in that experience-based business industry, I think could be a good buy right now. The fourth category on my list is business-to-business services. So these are oftentimes fly under the radar. Sometimes people might not even know about them. Had a recent podcast guest, Brad Cornell, who bought a parking lot sweeping company. I didn't even know that such a thing existed before talking to Brad, but he does very well in that business. And it makes sense. Commercial parking lots and plazas and shopping malls all around the country need to be cleaned. So who's cleaning them? Another business is cleaning them. That's what Brad's company does in Idaho. Businesses like that, document shredding, data security or data backup, those types of businesses, pest control, commercial cleaning, which kind of cross into that in-person service-based thing as well, commercial laundry, fire safety and suppression systems. That can get a little tricky with the licensing depending on where you are, but there could be opportunities just to supply equipment that doesn't require licensing. So anything in that business-to-business space. And these are harder to find because, like I said, with the parking lot sweeping, some of these services you might not even know exist. But if you can find them, they can be very lucrative because the less people know about them, the less likely Joe Schmo on the corner is to go start up a competitor overnight. So finding those unique business-to-business opportunities is a great opportunity to buy and grow. Number 5 on my list is niche manufacturing and light manufacturing. There has been a big push in the US over the last few years under 2 different administrations to bring back manufacturing to the United States. Personally, I don't know where we are going to get all the labor for these types of jobs because it doesn't seem like people want to be doing them on a regular basis. But that said, there is a need for it and there is a demand for it amongst companies that want to buy local, that want to buy US made. So there are so many of these niche manufacturers, these light manufacturers that make specific parts, specific tools, different things that are used in our everyday lives that you never even knew existed because they're parts in bigger products that we use. So going out and finding those in your local area that have been running well for decades, that have established customer bases, they're part of established supply chains that don't want to get messed up. The owners are oftentimes looking to retire. They don't know what they're going to do because usually their kids want nothing to do with it. So finding those types of opportunities in that niche manufacturing or light manufacturing space could be very good, especially as our government keeps pushing that agenda of bringing back manufacturing. If you're in that position, you could be prone to grow very well as more and more companies are looking to buy US made parts and services. So those are my 5 industries that I would be kind of looking at right now: the healthcare adjacent, service-based, in-person type things, experience-based, business to business, and niche or light manufacturing type businesses. Couple words of caution about any of these businesses, as I touched on at the beginning. Just because the industry might be prone for growth doesn't mean a particular company is prone for growth. And no matter how well suited that company and that industry is for growth, if you hate that business, it's not going to grow. You're not going to have the excitement to actually put into it to make it grow. You don't have to love it, but you do have to like it. Pay attention to some of these businesses where the owner is the product. There are a lot of, especially service-based businesses, and it can happen in any industry, where the owner is so ingrained in everything that is going on at the company, from making the things to handling customer relationships to every facet of the business, where without that owner, there is no business. Not that those can't work sometimes, but you need to be very cautious when buying a business like that. Trendy businesses. So I did mention escape rooms earlier with the experience-based. I actually don't know how well those are doing, particularly right now. I just use those as an example in that experiential-based business. I know for a while it seemed like they were popping up on every corner overnight. So I would be careful about something like that. Look and see, is there a long-term trend on this, or is it just a hot trend right now that isn't going to last? So this is where buying a long-established business comes into play. You're not starting from scratch. You don't have to face all these headwinds in a bunch of competitors if you buy one that's already been around for a long time. Highly regulated businesses, like I mentioned with plumbing, electrical, things like that. You don't want to buy businesses where you're so dependent on a certain license if you can't get that license yourself. And then kind of anything that looks weak with their fundamentals. No matter how good the industry looks, a bad business is not going to be fixed by just the fact that the industry is taking off right now. So make sure you really understand the fundamentals of the business you're looking at. So the takeaway here is that the best business for you in 2026 is the one that makes sense for your lifestyle, your cash flow needs, and your risk tolerance. If the industry also happens to fit into something that is taking off right now, fantastic. Don't necessarily go buy in an industry that's disappearing, but you don't have to buy in an industry that is taking off, as long as the business fits what you need and what fits your lifestyle and has a good track record and opportunity for growth of that business. I really hope this helped you think about some of the top industries for 2026 and whether or not that even matters for your particular search. If you'd like to hear more about my thoughts on any one of those industries, please let me know. Or if you would like to learn a little bit more about me, please check out our other episodes of this podcast. And if you enjoyed this, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review on your way out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Business Buying for Financial Independence. If you're serious about owning your time and building long-term wealth, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.